everyone, welcome back to Great Sports Debates, and we're back with Week 6 Power Rankings. So we have a few shakeups, but nothing too crazy. Starting at 32, we got a new team in the basement with the Carolina Panthers. They're still winless. They still don't have playmakers on offense. Young is, playing like a rookie and making mistakes. They're turning the ball over, and the defense isn't helping them out either. It will be tough sledding for this team to win a couple of games this year. At 31, almost as disappointing, the New York Giants. Despite getting a lot of breaks, they got blown out again. This is a team that's not going to win too many games. I was never too high on Daniel Jones, but if you're watching the games, he's really the only offense. The guy's running for his life. He's got a bad offensive line, and it almost seems like most of the yards they make is him scrambling on runs to, get them somewhere or moving out of the pocket to make a big play. But it's going to be tough for this team because they're soft on both sides of the line. At 30, we got the New England Patriots. And no matter how good we think Bill Belichick is or isn't, he's just not going to be able to get it done with this team. He's got no confidence in the quarterback. There's no confidence in the defense. And all the stress it's putting on the defense, they're starting to give up big plays too, as the offense cannot even get first downs at this point. At 29, we're sliding Denver up, and of course, not based on their performance, but just how bad some of the other teams are. I really don't understand how this defense is so bad with the players they got and as well as they played the year before. But practice might be part of it because you see poor tackling all over the field, as well as, so many weaknesses in the communication and the play of some of the defensive backs. All right, we might have went too far bumping Chicago up this high, but I got them at 28. And they really got me this last week. I didn't expect them to beat the Commanders now. But when Fields is getting the ball out quick, it's helpful for him, and it also hides the deficiencies of their offensive line. So I don't expect too much from the Bears, but they might be a team I kind of watched for a while before I bet against because, the offense looked pretty good. And, of course, DJ Moore is showing what he can do for them. At 27, we have the local Las Vegas Raiders. The offense is bad, especially if they have to continue to play the rookie quarterback. I'm picking them to lose in tonight's game against Green Bay. Don't have high expectation for the Raiders. Again, maybe better than some of these other teams we mentioned, but not by a whole lot. At 26, it's the Cardinals. What I do like about this team is they're competitive every game. They play hard. Dobbs works hard to find ways to win. And they have a few pieces on the offensive line, which at the end of the day is where the games are won. But there's still just too many holes for this team to win a whole lot of games this year. At 25, it's the Cleveland Browns. The offense is really bad. If they get Chubb back at some point, if Watson gets back and plays well, they could definitely move up from here because I do think that the defense is really strong, but the offense is just too terrible to have much higher than 25 at this point. At 24, it's the Tennessee Titans. It's just a hard team for me to figure out. I don't trust them anywhere. I don't really like their quarterback situation. It's a well-coached team. They find ways to get it done, and with teams on or near their level. But they're just going to get blown out by the better teams because they don't have the playmakers to keep up. At 23, it's the Washington Commanders. I just don't get it. This team has a lot of talent on the defensive line. They should be creating more pressure. They should be stopping the run better. But they're not. I still really do like Sam Howell. I do think they got good value on him for, I think he went in the 5th round. And he seems to be pretty good at figuring out when to run and getting some balls out there. And I would expect them to be a little better than this, but they haven't shown it to this point. At 22 is the Green Bay Packers. I don't have a lot of faith in them. I think their ceiling's capped by Jordan Love. I do think they could rise a little bit when they get all their offensive line pieces together, when he's just kind of the play action type guy and they kind of run and pound the ball. But again, Green Bay is always going to be capped as long as they have Jordan Love at the quarterback position. All right, moving on. We have at 21 the Houston Texans. I wish I would have got to see that game against Atlanta. I know they were up for a good portion of it and seemed to give the game away. I'm going to try to go back and watch that game completely. They do have 2 wins on the year. C.J. Stroud's still looking good, and as well as Will Anderson. This is a team to keep your eye on. 21 might be too low, but again, they only have 2 wins on the season so far. At 20, it's the New York Jets. I think similar to Justin Fields, if they can get Wilson into a mode where he's getting the ball out quick, he has some reliable receivers and he has a great playmaker. So there's weapons. The challenge is, the same in Chicago, is a bad offensive line, making it hard for them to run despite having a stable of pretty good running backs. And, the defense isn't quite putting up the same stats that they did last year, but they do have playmakers all across the board. And I think more of that is just requiring the offense to do more. At 19 is the Atlanta Falcons. They won again, so we'll push them up a little bit. But the same thing I've been saying every week, I don't trust this team with Ritter at quarterback. Again, it caps all the talent they have at tight end, and with Drake London, and Bijan is electric. The defense is pretty good. Some key additions with Jesse Bates. Everything's there. I just Ritter at quarterback is going to limit them. At 18 is the Colts. This is another team I really just want to get more familiar with. Good, strong offensive line. Richardson's a freak athlete. He's inconsistent, which is a problem. And the other thing is, as much as he's running the ball, he seems to be getting banged up a bit. He's going to have to learn how to slide or something, because despite his size, he seems to be getting dinged up. Okay, and this continues to be controversial, and I know some of you hit me in the comments, and that's fine. Minnesota has 1 win, and I got them at 17. Maybe at some point I have to start sliding them a little bit lower. Despite the offensive firepower, you can't just say, hey, they had some bad bounces, when they keep making really bad turnovers, mistakes, fumbles, things of that nature. But I do think they have an offense that's going to keep them in a lot of games, particularly in the passing game and the connection with Jefferson. But 17 probably is too high. We're going to bank on giving Minnesota 1 more week here. All right, moving into the top half of the league, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm sure most people think, hey, this team's 3-2, and they just beat Baltimore. It's the same thing I've said every week with the Steelers as well. I don't trust their offense. I'm going to have to give them some credit and keep them in the top half, because, it's funny, I said last week or the week before, the defense is lights out, but how many games do you expect TJ Watt to win for you? Well, he's already single-handedly won them several. I mean, the Browns game, with the sacks and the fumbles and the touchdown. Then he does it again against Baltimore. The guy is a freak. He's in the backfield all the time. This guy is just must-see TV, and maybe just one of the top guys in the NFL that, despite being talked about, probably isn't talked about enough. At 15, we got the Cincinnati Bengals. We're doing most of this just based off of the roster. They bounced back and they won big again, but still they only have 2 wins on the season. Still, they have not looked like the complete team from all the playmakers they have from and the rush that they've typically been able to provide on defense. 15's where we have them now. Cincinnati's not a team I'm really comfortable betting, though. At 14, we got the Rams, kind of the same category. They've had a pretty tough schedule so far. If you look at the teams they've played, when Stafford has time, he's able to, hit those slants all day long. I mean, you see even in some of that game last week, it's just, hey, let's just do the same slant play to Cup 3 times in a row. And it's just, can you stop it? So the hard part is, Stafford sometimes holds the ball too long. He's a little overconfident in his abilities sometimes. And, can he remain patient and work his way down the field that way? At 13, I got the LA Chargers. It'll be a tough run for them to make the playoffs with the division and the conference they're in. But, again, I feel like they have an offense that they can score with anybody. So it's a team that I'm not surprised if they wind up winning a lot of games. All right, moving into the top 12 now. We got the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know how they lost that game to the Steelers last week. I didn't get to see the end of it. They totally dominated the first half. The problem was they were only up 10-3. And they wound up losing 17-10. But the offense, I've been saying this for a while too. They need to feature more run-pass option. They need to accept what they have with Lamar Jackson. And his threat with his legs is what gets him the open shots that makes him look good. And that's what they have to take advantage of. And they're not doing it enough. But this could still be a tough team, and this could still be a playoff team. And I still think they're the best team in that division. At 11 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This one's kind of hard because they haven't really had a tough slate. I like that Baker Mayfield is smart enough to know that, hey, Mike Evans is his guy, and he can just kind of throw it up in his direction, and he makes things happen. He didn't look super great when they played Philly, but nobody really does. It'll be interesting to see how they do next week. At 10 is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I just can't figure out this team. Every time I'm kind of like, hey, this offense doesn't look like it takes the next step. It looks like it regressed. And then the next week they look great. So they're building on their consistency. I do like how Trevor Lawrence has played the last year and a half or a year or so. I do think that they could be a playoff team and maybe even a playoff team that could win a game. So Jacksonville has been a little up and down this year, but good enough to make the top 10. At 9, we got a big mover. I've been saying it. In fact, I said last week during the bets to say, I feel like it's a matter of time. Carr coming back in his footing under. Kamara just had his first game. I feel like when those guys get clicking, they can keep up with the defense that's already been lights out. So I like the Saints here. I got them at number 9. I think they're the class of their division, despite it being a weak division. And I think they're going to roll off a decent record this year. All right, moving it to number 8. This is probably our second tier of teams that I feel could, do some damage in the playoffs. And we're starting with the Seattle Seahawks. I don't know what Pete Carroll does, but it feels like no matter how many linemen they lose or how bad they play, somehow Gino has plenty of time to throw the ball all the time. They drafted well. They get running backs who would have been first-round picks in previous year and get them in the second and third round. So they got good stable of running backs. Gino's proven when he has time, he can be reliable. Of course, they got DK at the wideout position, and they've drafted strong in the back end for their defensive backs, matching up with the rest of this team. Seattle is a tough team. Sometimes the offense looks a little stagnant, but there's not really a lot of holes there. At 7, we got the Dallas Cowboys. And I know some people are going to say, man, this is too high. They're 3-2. They just got smoked by the 49ers. You know, newsflash, who hasn't got smoked by the 49ers this year? But if you look at the teams below them, there's none of them that I'm ever going to pick to beat Dallas. And the teams above them, there's some of them I might pick Dallas, you know, depending on the circumstances, or, you know, maybe an avoid. So 7's definitely the lowest I can have the Cowboys. We picked it last week. I said San Francisco is going to be a bad matchup for them because Dallas's offense isn't as good as people think, and their defense has a deficiency stopping the run. So keep your eye open. That might be another spot where the line's not quite right when they play the Eagles for the same exact reasons. At 6, we got the Buffalo Bills. Again, another 3-2 team. They've killed it in their 3 wins. I didn't get to see the Jacksonville game, so I'm going to definitely go back and watch that. They should win. I don't know why they didn't win that game. The first week loss to the Jets was kind of a strange one. But I think Buffalo is definitely a team that could win it all, which is the same for all these teams in the top 6 or 7. At 5, I got the Kansas City Chiefs. They won by a touchdown again. They were up by a little bit more than that against the Vikings earlier. They still haven't looked as great as we expect, but between Mahomes being able to run, scramble, create time, make big runs, and get the ball downfield, you know, this could be the top roster in the league. At 4, we got my Detroit Lions. Probably too high. I don't know if I really trust them this much, but the defensive line's getting pressure. The additions they've made in defensive backfield are holding up good enough. The linebackers are playing good enough. The offensive line, of course, is lights out. And when Goff has time, he can find weapons no matter who those guys are. We got J-Mo back. Lions have a lot of ways to win on the offense. I mean, the fact that they can just hand the ball off to Montgomery and they're getting 4 or 5 yards in a chop. And then they got Gibbs, who's super electric, whether he's in the backfield or split out. This team is tough in a lot of ways. At 3, we got the Miami Dolphins. They're 4-1. Yeah, they lost to Buffalo, but they've been kind of killing it outside of that. And they were keeping pace with a couple of mistakes here or there. They can run the ball. They have speed everywhere. They have some key playmakers on defense. Miami is a really tough team. At number 2, we moved Philly up. At this point, they're 5-0. The offense still isn't clicking the way I'd expect, but the way they're able to run the ball and give time to Hurts, their defensive line is just lights out. They definitely lost some stuff on the back end, but Philly's going to be, they're going to win a bunch of games. They're probably going to lose a couple all year. The problem is, I don't know if they're going to get out of the NFC, because at number 1, I got San Francisco. And I think when I get back to Nevada, I'm going to have to look at what the odds are for the 49ers to win the Super Bowl, because they just look like they're in a tier by themselves. They can run, they can pound it, they got a great offensive line. Brock Purdy is good enough to get the ball to the weapons that they have, and he's smart enough to limit his mistakes. And, the defense is just great everywhere, and they just proved it again. None of their games have been close all year. They've scored over 30 every game this year, and they should have won every game by double digits except for the McVay. So hopefully that's everything. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Like, subscribe, And stand by, we'll get those picks out in the next day or two. Thanks a lot.